But I actually think it's a really important part of the process, because if I didn't have self-doubt and the goal was just like so reachable, then I didn't reach high enough. Anything at the time, because I grew up kind of spoiled and had everything done for me. I only knew how to make ramen noodles and spaghetti, what's it called, the spaghetti sauce from a jar type of thing. So those were my two go-tos, and because I was working out a lot, I was like, oh, maybe I should try to eat better to get better results. So I started to figure out how to make basic things, and so that was the first catalyst for cooking anything in the first place, out of necessity, and I wanted to see better results. And I remember I was with this guy, and then I was like, hey, I learned how to cook something, look at this. And then I invited him over. It was so awful. Like, I don't think the pasta was even fully cooked, and I didn't know what marsala was. I was trying to make chicken marsala in the grocery store. Christine's like, what the fuck is a marsala? But anyway, I followed some recipe, I made it, and then I made it for him, and he was just like really happy. And then I tried to experiment with some really, crappy ass meals. But then I got the idea that, hey, this hosting and making a meal for someone makes people happy. So those couple of ideas together kind of motivated to me learn more about cooking. And because pastry is a recipe, and I had a friend who really liked muffins, and that's a straight mix. You just put everything in a bowl, you mix it, and you bake it. You can't mess it up. So I started with a couple of basic things, and I was more drawn to the idea of hosting and kind of making an experience out of it. So that's why I continued to learn how to cook. But I think looking back now, because you asked me the question, the first reason I learned how to cook was I needed it for function, right? Because I wanted to see results for working out. And then the second reason for it was to make people happy. So I'm gonna soak it in water, obviously, for two reasons. One, to wash it, and then second, get a little bit of rehydration going. Just look at these ends, like, fuck, can you see this? Every time I go to Whole Foods and I pick up asparagus, I look at all the ends first, and they're all like super dried up. And if they are super dried up, then it's very stringy. So even though it looks wasteful, I don't really want to eat that part. So I think this one I can take it off a little bit. There's a high chance it's not going to be delicious, these bottom parts. So today I'm going to do asparagus and broccoli, and for the veg, I just pre-cut it in bags. So I can just measure out exactly how much I want to eat, and then I put some water in it with a container, and then I microwave it to cook it, because that's the easiest and fastest way to do so. That's not how I would do it in a kitchen, okay? Don't get it all twisted or start telling people about that. But yeah, like this too fibrous, I'm not gonna eat this part. Yeah, so veggies, I just pre-cut it. The reason I don't freeze it and pack it down like I do with the proteins is that frozen and defrosted veggies, the texture is awful. It's too soft, and then the water logging gets all fucked up. So I don't do it. I'll eat vegetables under the condition that they're at least somewhat crunchy enough, so they're giving me some textural satisfaction. Whenever I prep certain foods, I get like nightmares and flashbacks back to the time I was prepping it for a section. For example, there was a white asparagus dish, and every day is peeling white asparagus. Like when you're peeling white asparagus at Noma, it's like, I can't even show you. It's like you peel it off so it's like completely perfect, and it just looks like a perfect, I don't know, looks like a penis shape or something. Because the white asparagus are massive. But anyway.
How long does it take to do that?
A lot. There's a team of people peeling white asparagus all day. One's for lunch service, one's for dinner service. Just peeling that shit, because you have to do it the day of. You can't really do a lot of fresh cut. So for example, when I was on the cold section, you only start cutting stuff, because there was this dish with berries. You only start cutting once the guest sits down. because God forbid, if you cut the cherry an hour before the guest arrives, you know, it's going to be a completely different experience. And the thing is, it is. And in a high level, best restaurant in the world, of course, you think about all the tiny little details like that. But right now, the purpose of me doing this prep is I just need the macros, I just need the nutrients, I just need the calories in X, Y, and Z form. So really, I only care about efficiency right now. I have no regard for taste too much, just that it's edible enough and that it is cooked enough. I am prepping for a bikini bodybuilding competition. It's a 14-week prep. I am in week 3. I think for the 14-week prep, in the beginning, I thought, okay, it's nutrition, training, and posing. I knew at least that much, right? And then as I get further along, I realized there were so many different layers to all of these 3 things. So every week, I'm learning the granular details and the nuances of each particular aspect. So I'm learning more, things are getting more complicated, and sometimes it's giving me more confidence and sometimes it's giving me more doubt. So it's just a mixture of things. I thought it was going to be relatively not as challenging as some of the other problems and challenges that I've gone through in the past, right? Because this is a physical transformation that involves only me and it's a controlled environment. But now that I'm on this path, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. So I know it's worthwhile. It's a worthwhile challenge for me to tackle. Some of the hardest things so far is the posing, because nutrition, I've already been doing some version of that. Working out, I've been doing that since I was very young, like pre-teens. But posing is something I've never done before, so that's going to be the most difficult part for me. And so I told you there were 3 things, and then now that turned into like 12 things I need to do every day. And I can see how everything is layered and stacked so they all interrelate to each other. So I've made a little spreadsheet and a tracker of things I should be doing every day, because there's nothing, like if I do something every day, I have to get better at it, right? Like I will get better at it. So that's my approach. And I already know what my weakness is, so maybe that is something that'll be more of a focal point. And I know my tendencies, which is to overdo it. So I'm being more conscious about my rest and my bedtime and doing exactly what I'm supposed to do, but not too much. So I can sustain myself to actually make it to the end.
Small. I'm just really trying to leave a mark. We tired of being who they say we are. That's the baton, we gon' take it far. I was for real, we don't fake it all.